Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Next to Madison. I am your host, Madison Malloy, and on this episode, we are talking nutrition, fitness, protein, how you need protein and fiber, all the good stuff. No more crash dieting, no more counting your calories. Use common sense when you're eating and also hit the weights and get enough protein, and you will not have to crash diet for your events, what you're doing. You can adopt more of a healthy lifestyle, satisfied longer. It's amazing. We talk about hunger. We talk about fasting, if it's good or not. We talk about sleep. We talk about how stress stops your metabolism, so you need to reduce stress. This episode is packed full of amazing information. So please make sure you listen to it. This is episode 199. Yes, we are cranking through it. We're almost past 200. It's amazing. Couldn't have done it without all you guys. So please, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you. And if you have not left so written review or rating, I would be so grateful if you could do that. It helps us in the algorithm get discovered, so we can make you at this show, which is our goal, happier, healthier, and wealthier. So thank you for listening to this episode of Next to Madison. I hope you enjoy, and the episode will be right back after this brief message.
Hey, it's Madison Malloy. I'm excited to announce that my new book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up, is now available online and in stores. You can pick up your copy today by going to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. This new book is a humorous self-help guide to help you remove the obstacles that are holding you back so you can take things less seriously and live a more enjoyable life. I'm so excited for you to read it. Now back to the show.
All right, beautiful people, we are back with our amazing guests on this episode of Next to Madison, talking all things nutrition, how to lose weight, keep it off, eat right, count calories, all that stuff we hate, but we actually secretly love, right? Health as well. So with that being said, I'll stop talking and I'll bring on our guest of the hour. She is the founder of A Salad with a Side of Fries. Please welcome Jenn Trepeck. How are you?
Hi, Madison. Thank you so much for having me. I'm awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited you're here because I feel like this episode is so fitting to what I need. We're into the new year now, and some people have already kind of fallen off track, but I always say it's never too late to get back on track. So before we get into all like the nutrition and foods and counting calories and all that stuff, first tell us about you and how you kind of started this and what your background is, so people can actually justify that you're the real deal and they should listen to you.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I will say, listen to your body more than you listen to me. Number one.
Okay. I like that.
But having said all that, so I'm a health coach. I came to all this wellness stuff through my own, I call it a saga. I feel like the word journey like doesn't do it justice.
Okay. Okay.
It was
Explain
a
more.
saga. Yeah. So I grew up a dancer. So I was hyper aware of my body and where my body is in space. And I ate well as a kid. Like I ate vegetables. It wasn't like, I didn't like healthy foods. But we also had a refrigerator that was only soda in my house growing up. And I sort of joke that somebody in my family was always on a diet. And so truthfully, like by default, I was on a diet my whole life and I didn't really realize it. But having said all of that, I gained weight between high school and college was when I really started to I stopped dancing, right? I was like, okay, so does a person go to a gym? Like, what does one do?
Yeah.
And then when I was starting to gain weight, I was like, all right, well, I know what to do because I watched my family do this, right? I do this diet and then I gain the weight back, and I do that diet and I gain the weight back. And that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really frustrated. I felt like there were times where like, no matter what I did, I was just gaining weight. Like I would breathe and gain weight. And I'm like, how is this possible? Like something does not add up and something does not make sense,
Yeah.
And for me, it was sort of like two worlds colliding. So I had this saga going on of my own weight. And I was working, I graduated from the University of Michigan Business School, moved to New York, working full time, and was like, all right, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just know that I cannot work for somebody else for the rest of my life. Right.
Yes.
And then those worlds collided. I learned about the curriculum that I've based my practice on. And at first I was like, no, that's okay. I've got my thing, right? My thing was the roller coaster and the merry-go-round and all that craziness, but like, I didn't need whatever they had.
Yeah.
Until I heard this woman tell her story. I don't know her name. Like, if you're out there, please contact me.
Okay.
She was telling her story of losing like 150 pounds. And
Wow.
I'm looking, right? And I was looking at her and like, I couldn't see where 10 pounds would have been on this woman's body. And it was like my brain, literally, I heard nothing of what she said after that. Like my brain, it was like the teacher in Charlie Brown, like I was having another conversation in my head. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like they know something you don't know because that does not compute given what you know. And they were keeping it off, right? So I was like, Jennifer, get out of your own way. They know something. So I worked with a coach. I followed the program myself, completely changed my life. Like the only thing that's allowed me to say I've kicked my food issues. So, right. And so from there, I was like, this is what my thing is going to be. This is what everybody deserves this information. Like, I really felt like it was the nutrition education we're all supposed to know, but no one ever taught us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I built a side hustle. I built my health coaching practice on the side for 12 years.
Wow.
I left my full-time job July of 2019. I launched my podcast. Thank you. Little did I know what was coming in 2020.
Yeah.
I launched my podcast, Salad with a Side of Fries, in August of 2019. And fast forward, here we are. There's no going back,
Yeah. No, I love it. So can you get into what that secret was?
Yeah. So it's really about understanding in an approachable way, right? How our body processes food and how food impacts our body.
Okay.
Making choices to keep our blood sugar balanced, because it turns out whether we are burning fat or storing fat is a function of our blood sugar.
Interesting.
Right. And so what happened was, in learning how foods work together and how foods impact our body and what different cravings might mean, it shifted food decisions from being emotional. Why do I suck? Why can't I just not eat the free croissant in the kitchen at work? Right.
Uh-huh.
To, oh, I get why that's appealing to me right now. What I really need is this. Let me have that and then see how I feel about the croissant. And so food decisions became intellectual instead of emotional.
Oh.
And it shifted everything.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some of those things that?
So when, like I mentioned, so our objective is to keep our blood sugar in sort of this middle zone where we're never burning fat where we're never storing fat, right? If our blood sugar is too low. So blood sugar too low could be, we've gone for a really long time without eating, or we didn't eat enough, right? I see it a lot of men. I love you guys, but you go all day and then you have this big dinner, right?
Yes. I know men like that. And they're fat.
And
it's true.
And like the 1 meal a day diet has gotten a whole, thing. I'm not a fan. Essentially what happens is that one meal gets stored as fat because our body says, I don't know the next time food is coming and you're not going to kill me. So I will store that fuel to use it later, which is fat.
Yeah.
Right? Our body is hardwired for survival, and it doesn't know that we're choosing not to eat the refrigerator full of food. Our body thinks it must be a time of famine.
Okay, so that leads me into a question that's popping into my head. Fasting. There's supposed to be all these benefits with fasting. how do you prevent your body from storing fat if you want to fast? There's fasting and then there's intermittent fasting.
Right. So occasional might do your body some good. I like it better for men than for women. If somebody really wants to fast, first of all, what's the name of the first meal of the day?
Break the fast.
Breakfast, break fast. So proper fasting, caveman fasting, is essentially sundown to sunrise when we sleep.
Yeah.
So if you really want to fast, I highly recommend it start 2 hours before bed and end about an hour to 90 minutes after you wake up. The idea that we're expecting our body to function without fuel is setting ourselves up for fat storage and stress running the show. We think we have a lot of energy. We think we're great. It is stress that is giving you that energy, which is not the kind of energy for proper function throughout the body. So, I mean, separate from all of that, one of my personal pet peeves with the way fasting has, sort of evolved is, the average American is not metabolically healthy. The average American does not get the required nutrition when given 24 hours a day to eat. How we think people are going to get into their body everything that the body needs in 6 hours is, I can't wrap my head around it.
Okay, so you're not a fan of fasting. Unless you're sleeping.
Fasting, right. The fasting I like is, a couple hours before bed to about an hour after waking up.
And it's interesting you said I like it for men better than women. I have actually heard this because one of my partners was saying, was doing the intermittent fasting and it was really working very well for him. And then I spoke to somebody about it and I said, oh, I'm not going to eat till 12. Right. And she goes, well, if you want to do intermittent fasting, 8 hours of eating and the 16-hour fast is ideal for men. If you're going to do it, you need a longer eating period because then it messes with your hormones for women. So she said it was like 10 to 11 hours of eating. And then
which makes sense, right? Think about, so think about if we wake up, let's say we wake up at 7. So we have food by 8. And then we go to bed, let's say we go to bed at 10, right? We finish food at 8. That gives you 12 hours-ish, right? Yeah. Of your eating window. That's exactly what we're talking about. And you're exactly right. It's the hormone piece. So men have usually about 2, maybe 3 hormone shifts in their life.
God,
right?
So good.
Not only do women have massive hormone shifts at a couple times in life, our hormones are on a 30-day cycle. So every single day, we literally have a different biochemistry than the day before. So it makes sense that what felt good yesterday maybe doesn't feel so good today.
Yeah. Okay.
And we sort of forget that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, I actually like this because I don't really like fasting. So this makes me happy. So if somebody's trying to, because I feel like everybody and their mother is trying to lose weight, whether it's 2 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, everybody's trying to, I'm trying to take a little off because my yoga pants are too tight. I'm like, but I'm trying to replace it with muscle. So I'm eating a shit ton of protein now.
Great.
And then lifting really, really heavy and trying not to do as much cardio. But what should people be eating? What's a normal healthy calorie range if you're in the weight loss zone? Is it 1200?
So I am not a fan of counting. I'm not a fan of counting calories. I'm not a fan of measuring your food. I'm not a fan of counting macros because I don't know about you, but I'm not going to live the rest of my life with a food scale in my handbag to go out to eat or never eating out or tied to some app, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of the process that will allow us to live that way forever. Now, there are times, right? So there are times where we may have a greater commitment to something in the short term, and we might choose to make some choices that are more appropriate for doing for a week or 2 weeks, but knowing and having the plan that that's for a finite period of time, right? So in the long haul, what matters to me more than calories is what the calories are made of. Because here's the bottom line. Doesn't take a rocket scientist or a nutrition degree to tell you that carrots are going to be different for your body than M&Ms.
Yes. Really? So, damn it. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. I know. So number one, do not lose your common sense. Right?
Okay.
I think we pay too much attention to the rules instead of paying attention to our bodies. And that's part of the problem. We have taught ourselves out of knowing when we're hungry and knowing when we're satisfied because we're told, I got to eat this many calories or I got to not eat, even though I'm hungry, right? La, 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 I can't hear you stomach growling because I was told not to eat, right?
Right.
So every time we eat, meal or snack, protein, fiber, quality fat. So if you're a note taker, anybody, here's your takeaway. Protein and fiber at every meal makes removing fat no big deal. Protein and fiber at every meal makes removing fat no big deal. Protein.
Give us some things to eat because me, I don't like to cook. I don't like if it's not grab and go.
Cook. Yeah.
That's why I'll grab like some turkey or chicken breast or protein shake, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So protein is clean, lean protein. I don't care if you want that to be animal or plant or whatever. Clean, lean protein, ideally closer to nature than not, right? So if we're doing turkey, ideally it's fresh turkey, not deli meat turkey.
Okay.
But those are also shifts we can make over time, right? Right now, if it is a shift to have the deli meat turkey wrapped around slices of apple, I'm great with that. And in time, we might say, hey, maybe it's time to upgrade that turkey, right? So protein, fiber is vegetables and sometimes fruit. Carbs are not the enemy, but we need the quality carbohydrates that have fiber and have nutrients.
Okay, so what are some of the top fiber foods? Because I feel like protein's easier to figure out. It's like crab meat, you know?
Right. Eggs are a great option for the protein front too. So vegetables and fruit. Eat the ones you like. Don't eat the ones you don't like. And the truth is, yes, I could give you a list that when we look at the glycemic index of certain foods, right? Like honeydew is better than cantaloupe or pineapple. An apple is better than those, right? Raspberries are amazing. Raspberries have like 9 grams of fiber in a cup. But we don't have to get that, obsessive about it.
Yeah.
If what you're choosing is vegetables or fruit, we're good.
Okay.
On a daily basis, we recommend that people have, hold yourself, 8 to 12 servings of vegetables a day. And like
8 to 12? And what's a serving?
1 to 2
serving
fruit.
Is the size of your fist, right?
Yeah, about a cup. Yeah, greens, it might be 2 cups, but yeah, about a cup, which is like your fist.
Okay, so if you're eating 8 servings of vegetables a day, how can I feel like you'll be so full that you're not gonna go for all the shit.
Right. So you definitely need
to keep the weight off.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need protein in there to help, right? The protein and the fiber together give our body what we need in addition to the quality fat.
Eat them together.
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to feel fuller longer eating them together. So protein and fiber at every meal makes removing fat no big deal.
Okay, so after this podcast, I'm gonna go have some lunch. I do have deli meat turkey, and I'm gonna grab that, and then I'm gonna have an apple.
Cool.
And then maybe
that'll be 1 serving of fruit. So this is great. So your peanut butter, we want to make sure that the only ingredient is peanuts. Maybe there's some salt in there. That's going to give you fat and a little bit of protein, not as much protein as you would think, right? Okay. So what you're building there between the turkey, the apple, the peanut butter is more of a snack, right? Than a meal. So at a meal for a woman, we want to shoot for like 4 to 6 ounces of protein. So remember those days being told it's your palm?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's your whole hand. Your whole hand is 4 to 6 ounces.
Okay. So you should be eating like
snack,
a chicken breast like this.
Right. Right. Eat a chicken breast. Right. Look, we didn't get here. We didn't get to where we are challenged by food and our weight from eating the whole chicken breast. Right. Don't lose your common sense. So a meal serving size for a woman is 4 to 6 ounces. For a man, it's 6 to 8 ounces, which is still essentially his whole hand, right? His hand is going to be bigger than ours.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Right. A snack for both men and women is about 2 to 3 ounces. So, you know, for women, it's like your palm. For men, it might be a little less than your palm.
Okay.
So then vegetables is like 8 to 12 a day. So if you built a salad, right, and we put some protein on it and we add some avocado, or we use olive oil as our dressing, or we put some walnuts or almonds in there, we have protein, fiber, quality fat. It's going to keep you satisfied. Everybody, you know, wants to then say, okay, well, what about cheese? Can I put cheese in my salad? Or what about my dressing, right? If you want cheese and it doesn't bother you, have some cheese, right?
Yeah, don't torture yourself.
Yeah. And like personally, sometimes like adding a little bit of cheese to a salad makes it infinitely more satisfying to me. Mm-hmm. I'm not craving the next thing when I have a little bit of cheese in there. So I have it. Now, for me, I know that feta or Parmesan sit better with me than other kinds of cheese. So I choose one of those, if I'm having cheese in my salad.
Yeah.
Technically, everybody after age 7 is lactose intolerant. Okay. About age 7.
I believe that. I think I am. Like, I love to, but like somebody told me to cut dairy out. And I did it for a month. My stomach was so flat. My thighs were like slimmer. And then, of course, I went to a party and I had some cheese and I just never gave it up.
And you were like, oh, I don't feel good.
Need to do this. But you have to be careful because when you go out, there's a lot of dairy and stuff, right?
Yeah. So there's sort of 2 pieces to this. So one is the quality of our dairy, right? So a lot of us are reacting to all the other things that end up in our food. On the lactose piece, our body as kids makes an enzyme called lactase reductase. That is how we process lactose. As we grow up, we wean off of mother's milk. Yes. So the body naturally stops producing this enzyme because we're not supposed to be having animal milk after a certain age when we're eating solid foods. So technically, everybody's lactose intolerant. It becomes a function of how much it bothers you. And or are we actually allergic to, you know, other things in the milk? Are we allergic not to the lactose, but to, you know, casein or something else that's in dairy?
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, this is like it is so fascinating because you've always heard with like weight loss or keeping it off, it's like calories in, calories out. How many you're burning? How many you're taking
the problem is that's not how the body works.
Well, right. And so you've got the rise these apps, and then you've got all these digital things that are tracking. Like, I don't have my Apple Watch on because I couldn't get it to sync with my damn new phone. I got to figure that out.
Right.
And it would tell you, like, you'd go on and it would tell you, like, this is how many calories you burn. And I was shocked at how little calories I was actually burning. And then I'm like, no wonder I can't get any weight off. And I was always starving.
Yeah, right. How annoying is that also to constantly be starving?
I'm just lifting.
So with all of our wearables, Apple Watch, Fitbit, Whoop, Oura Ring, all of them.
Yeah.
We need to use them as a measure relative day to day for ourselves, not as an absolute number.
Okay, because they're probably not that accurate.
Right. They've gotten more accurate in time. Mm-hmm. You know, like, especially with the Apple Watch in terms of the heart rate and those kinds of things. It's gotten better over time. But the reality is most of the devices don't know enough about the rest of your body composition to actually say how much, how many calories you're burning with an activity, right? And that depends on how much muscle mass you have. That depends on how much fat you have. That depends on how heavy your bones are, right? All of these things play into it. My Apple Watch has never asked me for my body composition. So I can't.
Damn it. How selfish.
Right. Right. So we want to take it with a grain of salt, use it as a relative day to day. Did I do more today than I did yesterday? On average this week, how many days did I get up and move? Right?
Yeah.
That's where we want to use it rather than looking at that absolute number. Because the truth is, if you're eating next to nothing, no pun with next to Madison, I didn't mean to do that, right? But if we're eating so little because we've been told to eat less and move more, our body will use its own muscle mass to fuel that activity.
Okay.
Therefore, decreasing metabolically active muscle mass, metabolically active mass on the body, which means it's lowering our metabolism. So, all those times where we've done a diet, number on the scale goes down, right? We cut out whole food groups, we cut out, whatever it is, we do something drastic, right? Number on the scale goes down for a little while, then it stops. We get annoyed that the scale stopped moving. We go back to old eating habits because, good God, that's not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
You're telling me I'm going the rest of my life without ice cream or birthday cake or sorry, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
So we go back to these old eating habits. When the number on the scale was going down, what we were losing is water, muscle, and sometimes bone. Then we have less muscle. I know we have less muscle to be burning the extra fuel. When we go back to these old eating habits, we gain the weight back as fat. So over time, as we have lost the weight and gained it back, we might end up on the same number on the scale, but by body composition, we can be fatter at that same number.
Interesting. So
yeah, go ahead.
Should you ever allow yourself, because I'm speaking of right now, I'm starting to get hunger pains. I had a Greek yogurt this morning. So right after this, I'm gonna go eat. I'm gonna have an apple. I'm gonna have some probably tuna fish.
Cool.
Should you allow yourself to get to a point where you're feel hunger pains?
So hunger it's so interesting. I don't think hunger is the enemy. I think being able to identify that sensation is critical, right? The other side of it is over time, we also want to learn our earliest signs of hunger. For me, I get really cranky. I'm frustrated. I'm working on something and a text comes in and I am angry at that person for texting me. Right. But it's before I actually would say I'm hangry. It's I'm annoyed that somebody texted me. Well, they don't know what I'm doing. Right.
True.
So little things like the earliest signs of hunger, I get easily distracted. I don't feel like doing anything on my list. The next task on my to-do list, I'm I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Usually those are some of my earliest signs of I probably need some fuel.
Yeah.
So, I think we've been told sort of two sides of this hunger thing that you don't want to get hungry because then, right? It's it's harder to make quality choices. The other side of that is there's something about learning sensations again, because in that eat less, move more, we teach ourselves out of paying attention to our body. Right? It's part of why I said in the beginning, listen to your body more than you listen to me. You know what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
You know what doesn't make you feel good.
Right. And I feel if you're eating natural, from the ground or animal, you're probably going to be okay. It's when you start eating all the crackers and the chips and all that. My new addiction, by the way, oh my God, I had to stop buying them, was the Blue Diamond salt and vinegar almonds. Have you had those?
No, but I'm definitely going to go get them.
Holy crap. They are unbelievable. They're so good. The problem is you can eat the whole can at once.
Right.
So you have to modify
interesting thing. Right. So interesting thing on nuts though, people always come to me and they're freaked out about how many nuts they're having. right? And they start to like count out 7 almonds or whatever. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God,
hold
yeah.
up, right? Proper serving of nuts, small handful,
Okay, so Blue Diamond says
small
you can eat
handful.
28 for 170 calories.
Yeah, if you
That's
put
probably a
28 in
huge
your hand,
handful.
it's not really, it's probably
Yeah,
just a
that's true.
handful. And so
Interesting.
again, we didn't get here over the almonds. I always say to somebody, like, if we're in the place of counting almonds, we're in a really good spot, right?
Yeah.
Guaranteed there are other things going on that are getting us to that place. And all the rules that are out there and everything we've been taught makes us think it's the almonds. It's not the almonds, right?
That are
It's
making you fat?
right. Because
It's
almonds are
right.
going to give us some quality fat. They're going to give us a little bit of protein. They're going to help balance out, right? Things that we're having. Odds are we're under eating in general. We're eating, too many foods that have what we call new to nature molecules, stuff the body doesn't know what it is or how to process it. We're not sleeping. We're overstressed, right? When we're stressed, by the way, and this, is a whole other, can of worms. But when we're stressed, our metabolism turns off. When we're
What?
stressed, our immune system turns off. Our reproductive system turns off.
Wow.
Because remember, our body is hardwired for survival. Stress is fight, flight, freeze,
Yeah.
right? Anything that is not critical to survival in that moment turns off so that all of the body's energy can go to fight, flight, freeze. Well, burning fuel is not critical when our body thinks it's being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, right? Making babies, growing hair, growing nails, fighting off a pathogen, not critical to survival if our body thinks that life is in danger imminently.
Yeah. So lower your stress to lower your weight.
And right. And listen, like, I get it. I live in this world too. Like when somebody says like stress less, I'm like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
sure. Right.
Go fly a kite.
So it's right. Exactly. So it's really about saying, okay, what are the things I can do to send biochemical signals to my body that the stressor has passed, that everything is fine?
Breathe.
Breathe. Number 1 is breathe. Slow, deep breath. So breathing in the diaphragm, not the chest, right? So if we breathe in the chest, like somebody walks in the room and surprises you and you gasp, you're like, right? That's real shallow and high. That is stress breathing. Deep, low, long breaths.
So you can feel your stomach kind of push out like a balloon.
Exactly. Like I always think of like your diaphragm, like your lungs sort of expanding like an accordion. Whoa, sorry. Right? We're expanding like an accordion as we breathe down here. If you can manage to make your exhale longer than the inhale, it sends signals to the body that the stressor has passed. It helps us work through this stress response. Right? Because think about it. Like
so maybe you breathe in like, because I had put this in my book, because I said I don't meditate, but this is what works for me. I would breathe in for 8 seconds, hold for 8 seconds, and then breathe out for 8 seconds. But you're saying if I'm stressed, I should try to breathe out for 10 seconds.
Yeah. Or breathe in for 6, hold for 6, and out for 8 if 10 feels really hard or whatever.
Right. If you're like,
right. Don't stress yourself out trying to breathe for 10 seconds,
Yeah.
Exercise and activity. So I took Pilates years ago from this woman who's an original student of Joseph Pilates.
Oh, okay.
So she said, and now I don't know if this is true, but I liked it, so I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
The phrase workout came from the idea that we are working the stress out of the body.
Oh, and it's
I don't know if that's actually true, but I like it. It makes sense to me. Right. Yeah. And exercise is a great way, right, to work some of that stress out, to send, and think about it, right? Like if you are running from a saber-toothed tiger, right? We have this in survival, if fight, flight, freeze. We have the surge of the cortisol, right? That fuels this run. We have the exercise that helps work it out.
Yeah.
And then when we see that the tiger has passed or whatever, right? We've outrun the tiger. We start to slow down our breathing. We stop panting, right? Essentially what we're talking about as far as working out and managing the breathing is exactly what would happen if we were running from a tiger.
Yeah.
Right? So it's thinking about what are the things that help you. It might be a particular song. It might mean having a dance party in your bedroom by yourself. It might mean going for a walk at lunch to get some fresh air and movement. It might mean doing 10 jumping jacks and then sitting down again.
Yeah.
Whatever helps you work through the stress. Do you need to journal? Do you need to take a bath? Right? Maybe you're a meditator, maybe you're not. It doesn't actually matter what it is. It's just the fact that you're doing something to signal to the body that you are safe and everything can come back online.
So interesting. I never heard that like stress turns off your metabolism. So when you're stressed, you're actually like you're putting on weight. So
Correct.
the more you can reduce your stress, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. And sleep is a big piece of that, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I know it is so hard to get sleep. It is so hard to get quality sleep. And it's one of my like pet peeves in the personal development world when everybody's like, sleep when you're dead, like find more time in the day.
Right. Yeah. No. You need this to function. Yeah.
Please sleep. Please sleep. And so if you're feeling like these last few pounds or the first few pounds aren't budging and you feel like you're doing the things, we want to take an inventory that is beyond the food. I mean, take an inventory of that
sleep,
piece too.
Your stress, your lifestyle, your movement.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about the 10,000 steps per day.
Yeah.
True? Yay or nay?
So yay with a caveat. So 10,000 was a little bit of a benchmark where there seemed to be some sort of benefit, but there really isn't that much magic about 10,000. The magic is in walking. The magic is in getting movement.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I've heard some trainers that'll be like, oh, when I'm getting my clients, celebrity trainers, when I'm getting my clients ready for an award show, I'm having them walk 14,000 steps a day. Yeah, you're going to naturally burn more calories. I think it's just probably better just to move as much as you can.
Right. And
sit
exactly. There's also something like, I always try to go back to like, what's human? You know what I mean? Like caveman, human, right? It is not human to sit all day at a desk. We all know that.
No.
It's also not human to sit all day at a desk and go berserk for 1 hour. Right? The body was designed to move. So if our goal is 10,000 or 14,000 steps, it gives us a reason to get up and move more often and move more consistently and move throughout the day. The other thing is, as we go back to, sort of going back to the blood sugar thing we talked about before, few things are as powerful for managing what we call postprandial glucose after a meal is walking. If you walked for 10 minutes after you ate, you'd likely see tremendous benefit. So what I like about it is like, you don't have to get sweaty. You don't have to change your clothes.
Yeah.
You don't even have to go outside. I don't care if you circle your couch or pace around your house or 10 minutes, walk around after you eat.
So it just kind of, it helps you kind of burn more of
it helps with the blood sugar following a meal. It helps our body, process some of that blood sugar. So
I'm like taking notes. This is so interesting. Yeah.
But the magic of the whole thing is that nothing is earth-shattering. It's that everything we've been told has created this thing where we think it's so impossible.
Right. And it was always the calories in, calories out, which there is some truth to it, but it's also what you're eating. And like for me, I want to build more like muscle and get like my arms just a little more cut and defined. And
which means we need a lot more protein.
Right. Yeah. So I want to have less fat but I have to eat more now. Even though
Yes.
I would like the scale to be a little bit smaller, but really I'm just trying to not pay attention to the number, but shift the body fat percentage. That's the number I'm trying to get down.
Exactly. So I always say to everybody, we don't just want to look at the total number on the scale. We want to look at the total number, body fat percentage, and all of our tape measurements. Everybody forgets the tape measure. A lot of people forget the body fat too. But
I don't have a tape measure. I use my jeans. Do my jeans feel good?
Yeah. But especially now as you're looking at your arms, you might want to take the tape measure, you know? But anytime we take one measurement, we take all of the measurements.
Okay. So thighs, waist, arms, chest, stomach. Okay.
And the body fat and the total scale. Because sometimes we'll see something show up in a different place. The total number on the scale is the worst barometer of our progress. I say to everybody, divorce the scale.
Yeah.
When I work with clients, we weigh and measure once a month.
Okay. That's healthy.
Once a month.
I know, because I have this thing at my gym that you stand on it, you put your fingers on it, you put your feet on it.
Yeah.
And then it measures everything. And some of the trainers are like, oh my gosh, there's people that get on there every day. We're like, stop. But for me, I'm like, I haven't been on it since, the fall, because I went to New York. Now I'm just like working on like building muscle, eating protein. Like I'll get on it at the first of the month to make sure at least I'm like making progress, because that's what you want. You know what I mean? Because it's like I'm not trying. Like I feel like I could like tighten up my waist a little more. So I'm like, but I'm trying to lift to where I'm like really heavy. Like if I'm not struggling at the end, there's more weight to put on. Everyone's like, oh, you're going to get jacked. I'm like, I'd rather be like, look a little more jacked, but I don't think I can, versus
women
being too skinny.
Don't have enough. Yeah. And women don't have enough testosterone to end up really jacked. Like it's not going to happen.
Right. You're going to look
the other interesting thing.
You know what I mean? Like you want to have that like little, like right here. Like, I was doing shoulders yesterday and I'm like, yes.
Nice. I can see, right?
Yeah. Like heavier. Yeah. I think today is going to be back and biceps. So I do two muscles a day. So I do back and biceps, chest and triceps, shoulders and legs. And then I'm trying to like do them twice a week if I can. But I feel like doing like at least 50 squats per every day with weight is actually good, because it's like that biggest muscle group's going to burn more of the calories.
Exactly. So for women, well, for everybody, but especially women, your biggest muscle group, your biggest calorie burner are your quads, your thighs. And a lot of women are really afraid because they're like, I don't want big thighs. Work the thighs.
Yeah.
Build the muscle.
So you recommend you should do 50 a day with weight. And if you're not doing 50, I say if you're not doing it with weight, you should do 100 a day. And everyone says, well, that seems ridiculous. Well, not if you drop 20 every time you take a piss.
Right. Exactly. People underestimate. No, you're exactly right. Because we have this idea that if it's not intense enough, it's not long enough. If it's not enough, it doesn't count. Just like the 10-minute walk, 10 squats here, 10 push-ups there are going to add up. And it counts. It all counts. Because remember, it's not human to go berserk for 1 hour. It is more human to do a little bit all the time throughout the day.
I love that. This has been so fascinating. Okay, so because we're running out of time, I want you, people to know where to find you, because you're so filled with information. I feel like I could talk to you for hours and hours.
I know. We didn't even get into like,
again.
Yeah, we didn't even get into like leptin and ghrelin and all the things, like the chemistry of hunger and like, we'll do another episode on that one. Right. asaladwithasideoffries.com. Okay. All social media, I am at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. And my podcast is Salad with a Side of Fries.
I love it. This is great. So this was amazing. I'm going to go eat, and I'm going to be much more cautious of what exactly I'm going to eat thanks to you. And I'm going to be much more aware of my stress. And I'm going to be back to my squats every time I go to the bathroom. Hard to remember, but sometimes, when you have an office job, I remember when I worked in an office, it was easier to do the squats in the bathroom because you wanted to take as much damn time away from your desk as you could, right? When you're working for yourself, you're like, I don't really want to hang out in my own bathroom. Okay, this has been amazing. So there's so much more to talk about, but I want everybody to be able to find you so they can have their own questions answered, maybe even work with you. This has been mind-blowing. So where can they find you?
Absolutely. Website, asaladwithasideoffries.com. My podcast is Salad with a Side of Fries. All social media, I am at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. And by the way, I would love nothing more than hearing from you. Like, it makes my day to hear something, what did you learn? What's sticking with you? Or what do you disagree with? Like, let's have a conversation about it.
I love it. I love it. Now I'm going to be more aware of my eating habits now as I go and get lunch and my stress level. And I'm excited. I feel like I was motivated with the whole weight thing, but you kind of gave me that extra motivation. So I'm very grateful for you. And I'm grateful for everybody listening who tunes into this podcast to make it possible. Please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. We appreciate all of you. And we will see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@next2madison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.